Ladies and gentlemen, I have chosen to carry the World Heavyweight Championship because, first off, I'm a champion, and the sunglasses as well because there was a superstar who is potentially returning that used to do the same exact thing, and that is Edge. Now, there were rumors 2 days ago, if I'm correct, that Edge had potentially signed a new deal with WWE and was marking an in-ring return scheduled for 2020. Up until today, they seemed like legitimate rumors, and today they were completely shot down, at least by him. He could have done that because he's legit not coming back, or he wanted to increase the element of surprise and have us forget about it. We're also going to talk about AEW and how their television of late seems like it just needs a little bit of seasoning because it seems lackluster, especially for a show that was advertised as the winter finale and was nothing exciting really whatsoever about it. We're going to talk about this, that, and exactly how it needs to go right here. I really looked forward to making this video because up until today, I actually legitimately believed that there was potential that Edge could come back and he could make a surprise return and have a little run, not a long run. I did not expect a long contract whatsoever, maybe just a couple months, if anything. Now, one of the things that is important to talk about when you're talking about Edge is how important he was to WWE. Some people were not a huge fan of his singles run. I was, mainly because I caught the tail end of it. Just how cool he was. Tag teams, Rated RKO, The Brood, all of that, Ministry, all of that type of stuff was really cool to me. And there's no denying that Edge was one of the all-time greats. And it all depends on where you put him. But he was definitely up there, maybe in the top 10 for me. Now, the other day, there were rumors of him signing this supposed contract and returning. It was coming out from various sources, and it seemed like it was somewhat legit until today. He completely shot the idea down on Twitter. Now, again, like I mentioned in the intro, that is for a few reasons. One, it's probably not happening. I don't think it's happening. I thought that it was potential at first. And now that the more I think about it, the less I seem that it is likely. He said that. Now, there's another way that it could have gone about. With him saying that, it could just be him denying it, wanting people to completely forget about it. And then all of a sudden, the clock ticks down on the Royal Rumble, which I believe is in Houston this year, and out comes Edge. Now, there's a difference between a return and a special appearance. If you come back in the Royal Rumble, you have some eliminations, you get eliminated, and we don't see of you after that, that is just a appearance. That's not a return. The way that they're booking this, or the way that this was promoted or advertised online, it was to seem that Edge was coming back and he's going to be potentially, let's say, in the Royal Rumble, then on Raw the next night, then start a feud. I don't think it's a good idea because knowing the seriousness of what Edge's injury history was, I don't think that it would have been, or it will be, a good idea for him to come back, because now let's say he comes back and he suffers worse injury. He's clearly much older than he was, and he could be in great shape. I mean, it seems like it. We haven't really seen too much of him on WWE television or anywhere around it. Injuries like that, especially getting older, just makes it more difficult. He would have an extraordinary amount of ring rust because obviously his last match in WWE was 2011, and that is a long time to go without wrestling in a ring. Same to be said about the potential CM Punk rumors, which completely were blown out of proportion by so many of you. Injury, that's the risk. The reward, us fans get to see Edge back in the ring again. Who would he feud with that would make it interesting? I really don't know, because like I said, I just don't believe it. I don't think Edge is coming back. I really don't think that he is going to get into some feud in general or not. Could I see him potentially coming out at the Royal Rumble? Yeah. But I don't think it's any more than that. I think it would just be a surprise appearance, and he'd get some eliminations. Maybe he'd eliminate, somebody he had a previous feud with, or just, maybe we could see Christian come back as well. Just different things like that. just to make for a cool, heartfelt moment in the Royal Rumble. But I don't see anything to the extent of that, and he completely shot them down. We're going to see where the Edge thing goes from this point forward. Now, there's another route they could take. They're not going to take this route, but there's another one that they could take. They could elect to do Edge on television. Just by on television, he could be on Fox, the backstage thing. Somebody could say something to him. It could boil over time, kind of like what Daniel Bryan and The Miz was. And all of a sudden, Edge can go to this next level, and he could have a match with them. I don't think they're going to do that route. That's just another not blown out of proportion, but that's just another idea or whatnot. So I don't think it's happening. I really don't. I don't really see the need to. Do I think it would be cool? Yes. Do I think it's necessary? No. And like I said, he shot it down completely, and he seems like he'd be a man of honest. I feel like if Edge was legitimately coming back, he might say something like, he might have like a smirk emoji, because it was him replying on Twitter to the reports of him returning. He might have like a little wink emoji or just anything, just to kind of say like there's some substance to this, but don't get your hopes up. I don't see it. So I would talk about this more, but again, it doesn't seem as credible because he shot that down today. Again, if there's any place that he's going to come back, the only time he can is the Royal Rumble. That's it. Unless they waited so many months to where it was after WrestleMania, but the report was being booked as if Edge was coming back at the Royal Rumble and he was going to have some feud culminate at WrestleMania, which I don't think is going to happen. It could happen. Do I want to see it? I'd be interested, but I don't think it's something that I need to lose sleep over, and I don't think that it's something that has to be completely, oh my God, you know what I mean? I love Edge. He's always been one of my favorites, but I just thought I'd give my insight on that and where they can go from here. AEW. I was the number one AEW supporter, and I still am, because they provided an alternative to the shit show that is WWE on weekly television, not counting NXT. And they started off very good. Their shows in the beginning were fantastic. We loved them. November came around. The first taste of a very disappointing show for me for AEW was the night before Thanksgiving, when it was Chris Jericho's Thanksgiving celebration, and we were supposed to have him versus Scorpio Sky and all this and that. That show was massively underwhelming. I did not think it was good. I know that there are some people that will say that I am just an AEW supporter, and I don't look outside of that. I look at it as a whole entire spectrum, and that is just how I feel in that standpoint. That was massively underwhelming. This past Wednesday was supposed to be the winter finale. Now, the idea was that next week, 7 days from Wednesday, is Christmas. Obviously, they're not filming. And then 7 days from that is New Year's Day. So it was, and it is, AEW's final show of the year. And you would think they would have put something a little bit more into it. It was being promoted as the winter finale. And if you want me to be honest with you, the show wasn't that great either. And I thought that, yes, the ending of it with the Dark Order coming out built towards next year, and we're still going to wait to see what happens with Moxley in the Inner Circle. But outside of that, the show was underwhelming. Why was it underwhelming? Because it was advertised to be so much better than it was. Winter finale, they just had matches in the middle that didn't make sense. You know, the beginning match wasn't bad with the Omega and you know, the six-man tag, but it's just, the show itself was just kind of there. Now, there are some things that AEW's been doing better. Brandy Rhodes, I think, has been fantastic. Anytime she's had the microphone and anytime that she's been on television, I just think that she just has it. And, you know, the women's division is starting to maybe get built a little bit better, and that's a good thing because the women's division was severely starved, and it just seemed like there was nothing to it. Obviously, their tag team division speaks for itself. The show wasn't terrible. I just felt like it was lackluster, and I feel like AEW has been just slightly lackluster, at least of recently, on television. So we're going to see what happens. I think they're going to definitely have an interesting show on New Year's Day. We're going to be waiting to hear what Moxley is going to say. I don't see Moxley joining the Inner Circle. I don't see why it would make any sense. But just the anticipation and the build-up is definitely there. And we're also going to see what happens with the Dark Order, obviously them taking over at the end of the show. I just think that AEW has to kind of, you know, keep doing what they're doing. Obviously, it's growing pains. This is new. They have not done weekly television. Again, one of the things that Michael Cole said from WWE, and I kind of agree with him here, is he said that, you know, it's one thing to put on a good show, but to do it weekly. Now, WWE does not put on good weekly television. Raw and SmackDown, on most cases, are pretty well below average shows. Raw is absolutely terrible usually each week. But it's just the concept, the ideas, the camera angles, the audio, different things that go into it that a lot of people don't think about when they're not watching it. But that is one thing that I absolutely agree with when he said the weekly television, because it is a lot harder than it looks. You have to do it every single week. You have to build storylines, which I don't think AEW has a problem with building storylines, but just the putting on quality television each week is something that they're going to get used to. I don't really have too much about that because that's just something that somebody mentioned, but hopefully they get their stride back, and if not, it is going to be interesting around the wrestling community if AEW is going down quick, but I don't think so. I think, like I said, they're in a little bit of a up and down phase right now, and we're going to kind of see where that goes. I don't think Edge is coming back. Does he? Maybe, but I don't see it. Thank you for watching.